we are also identifying key value addition centers across the country because we are carrying out, we are doing a value addition and mineral processing policy so that we can reduce the amount of minerals that are exported raw. The mineral value addition and processing policy will help us to create jobs, but also to address the value chain in the mining sector. We also want to organize the artisanal miners into cooperative societies so that they can access training and facilitate them and link them with financial institutions so that they can have proper equipment. We will be able to cancel over 1,500 licenses that have been inactive.
Kenya is sitting on a treasure that could change its fortunes overnight. Nearly 1,000 new mineral sites have just been identified. A discovery that could kickstart a new era of wealth and power. But what if this incredible opportunity isn't a blessing, but a curse in disguise? What if this mountain of wealth is destined to be stolen, leaving Kenyans with nothing? The history of resource wealth in Africa is too often written in tears. And some of the old, familiar patterns are already starting to emerge. A map is being redrawn. Not a map of borders, but a map of wealth, power, and the future of an entire nation. Deep beneath the iconic landscapes of Kenya, a treasure trove has been lying in wait. A nationwide survey, the most comprehensive in the country's history, has just confirmed nearly 1,000 new sites where minerals are present. This isn't just a minor find. This is a revelation that could launch Kenya into a new economic league, seemingly overnight. The potential is staggering. We're talking about wealth that could build schools, hospitals, and highways. Resources that could power the global green energy transition. A chance to create millions of jobs and reshape Kenya's destiny. It's a story of incredible hope. But this is Africa, and the story of resource wealth in Africa is too often a tragedy. For every success story, there's a cautionary tale of a blessing that became a curse. The very same discovery that promises to build up a nation could unleash the demons of corruption, greed, and exploitation, leaving the Kenyan people with nothing but dust and broken promises. This is the monumental challenge facing Kenya. It's a high-stakes battle between a future of unimaginable prosperity and the ghosts of a corrupt past. And the outcome is anything but certain. So we have to ask the critical question: will this discovery be the making of Kenya, or the heist of the century? For decades, Kenya's economic identity has been all about two things: agriculture and tourism. Coffee, tea, flowers, and breathtaking savannas. The nation's geology, its underground wealth, was always a bit of a footnote. The mining sector chipped in less than 1% to the country's GDP. It was a tiny, almost negligible part of the economic conversation. Well, that conversation just got very, very loud. The Kenyan government recently finished a colossal project, a nationwide airborne geophysical survey. Think of it as a high-tech treasure map, an X-ray of the country's crust. Specially equipped aircraft flew across the nation, using sophisticated sensors to peer deep beneath the soil and sketch out the hidden geology of the land. The goal was to stop guessing and start knowing what Kenya was really made of. The results were explosive. The survey confirmed an astonishing 970 mineral occurrences scattered across the country. Now, it's important to know what that means. A mineral occurrence isn't a proven, commercially viable reserve. It's a geological smoke signal, a clear sign that a mineral is present. But when you have 970 of those signals flashing, the message is undeniable. Kenya is one of the most mineral-rich nations in Africa, and it never really knew it. This wealth isn't just in one corner of the country, it's everywhere. The final report reads like a roll call of newfound potential, transforming counties once seen as marginal into future economic hubs. We're talking about Kitui, Embu, Tana River, Turkana, Kwale, and Homa Bay, to name just a few. Across 16 different counties, the ground is buzzing with possibility. a decentralized treasure chest that could, in theory, spread development far and wide. So what did they find? The diversity is just as mind-blowing as the quantity. The list is a veritable A to Z of the building blocks of the modern world. They found industrial minerals, the workhorses of manufacturing, vast deposits of silica sand for making glass, gypsum for construction, phosphates for fertilizers, and even more of the soda ash Kenya already exports to the world. They found base metals, the backbone of industry, copper, the essential conductor for everything electric, graphite, critical for batteries, manganese for steel production, iron ore, the very definition of industrial muscle. They found precious metals, significant new occurrences of gold, particularly in the historically promising regions of Western Kenya, hinting that the country could finally become a major African gold producer. And of course, silver. And then the jewels. More occurrences of world-renowned gemstones like Savarite, the brilliant green gem that is uniquely Kenyan. This isn't just a discovery. It's the unveiling of a new national identity. It's a fundamental reboot of what Kenya is and what it can become. The country is no longer just a nation of farmers and safari guides. It is, and has always been, a sleeping giant of the mineral world. And it has just woken up. So these are just names on a list, a collection of elements. What does this actually mean for Kenya and the rest of the world? This is where geology turns into geopolitics and economics. This is the so what moment, and it is huge. Among the 970 sites, a few specific minerals stand out as genuine game changers, capable of reshaping global supply chains and putting Kenya at the center of the 21st century's most important tech races. Let's start with the big one, rare earth elements. The name is a bit of a trick. They aren't all that rare, but they are incredibly difficult to find in concentrations that are worth mining and even harder to process. Think of rare earth elements as the secret spice of modern technology. Without them, your smartphone screen, the powerful magnets in electric vehicle motors and wind turbines, and the guidance systems in defense technology simply wouldn't work. For decades, China has dominated the global supply of these critical elements, giving it immense leverage. But the Kenyan survey confirmed a deposit that could challenge that dominance. At a place called Rima Hill in Kwale County, geologists have confirmed what appears to be a world-class concentration of rare earth elements and another critical element, niobium. While early estimates of its value have been debated, its potential is undeniable, with some sources suggesting a value in the tens of billions of dollars and ranking it as one of the most significant rare earth element deposits in the world. Suddenly, Kenya isn't just a potential player, it's a potential kingmaker, a strategic alternative for nations desperate to diversify their supply chains. Then there's coltan. You might have heard of it, often for the wrong reasons. Coltan is the source of tantalum, a miracle powder used to make the tiny, hyper-efficient capacitors that regulate power in virtually every piece of modern electronics. The device you're watching this on right now works because of tantalum. The discovery of significant coltan deposits in counties like Embu positions Kenya as a key future source for the world's insatiable appetite for electronics. It's a direct line into the supply chain of every tech giant on the planet. And it doesn't stop there. Kenya is already a major player in titanium, thanks to huge sand operations in Kwale County. This isn't cheap jewelry. It's a high-strength, lightweight metal crucial for aerospace and medical implants. The new discoveries promise to expand this vital industry. What about gold? For years, geologists have looked at Western Kenya and seen a mirror of the gold-rich geology of Tanzania. The survey confirmed that this region is laced with underexplored gold deposits. This could trigger a new, modern gold rush, turning Kenya into a major force in the African gold market. Perhaps most timely of all are the green minerals. The survey identified significant deposits of copper, nickel, cobalt, and graphite. These four are the cornerstones of the green energy transition. You cannot build an electric car, a grid-scale battery, or wind farm without massive quantities of them. As the world scrambles to decarbonize, the demand is set to skyrocket. Kenya just found out it's sitting on a lottery ticket for the green revolution. The economic vision this paints is transformative. The Kenyan government wants to grow the mining sector from less than 1% of GDP to a formidable 10% by 2030. If managed correctly, this is about more than just export money. It's about diversifying the economy away from climate-vulnerable agriculture and shock-prone tourism. It's about creating hundreds of thousands of high-paying jobs and building a domestic industrial base. This discovery could be the engine that drives Kenya into developed nation status. It is a golden ticket. This all sounds like a fairy tale. A nation discovers the key to unimaginable wealth buried in its own backyard. But here's the turning point, where dazzling hope meets a very harsh reality. This is the giant, terrifying butt that hangs over this entire discovery. In economics, there's a chilling concept called the resource curse. It's a paradox. Countries with abundant natural resources often have less economic growth, less democracy, and worse development than countries with fewer resources. The wealth, instead of building the nation, poisons it. It breeds corruption on an industrial scale, fuels conflict, and leaves the vast majority of people in poverty, watching as a tiny elite loots the national inheritance. If you want to see the resource curse in its most tragic form, look at Kenya's neighbor, the Democratic Republic of Congo. The DRC is arguably the most mineral-rich country on Earth. It has colossal reserves of the same minerals Kenya just found: coltan, cobalt, copper, and gold. The DRC should be one of the wealthiest nations in the world. Instead, it is one of the poorest. Its history is a nightmare of exploitation, from a brutal colonial regime to decades of kleptocratic dictatorships and devastating wars fueled by the scramble for its mineral wealth. The coltan in our phones and the cobalt in our electric cars have been called conflict minerals for a reason. The DRC is the ultimate cautionary tale, a stark warning that mineral wealth is no guarantee of prosperity. And this isn't some distant problem. Kenya has its own ghosts, its own deeply troubling history of corruption that suggests it's terrifyingly vulnerable to repeating the same mistakes. To understand the risk, we have to talk about the Goldenberg scandal. In the early 1990s, a company called Goldenberg International claimed it was exporting massive quantities of Kenyan gold and diamonds. The government paid them hundreds of millions of dollars in export subsidies. The problem? It was almost all a lie. Kenya produced negligible gold at the time and no diamonds. The entire scheme was an elaborate fraud to siphon money from the state treasury into the pockets of the company's owners and their powerful political allies. The final cost to the Kenyan taxpayer was estimated at between $600 million and $2.6 billion. Billions in today's money. And the outcome? Almost no significant convictions. The masterminds walked free. Goldenberg became a symbol of impunity. You could steal from the Kenyan people on a massive scale and get away with it. You might think that's ancient history, but the pattern continues. In recent years, Kenya has become a notorious hub for international gold scams. This, among other issues, led the Financial Action Task Force, the global money laundering watchdog, to place Kenya on its grey list in early 2024, a status that was reaffirmed in June 2025. It's a signal to the world that the country isn't doing enough to combat illicit financial flows. This history is a symptom of a deeper rot. According to official estimates, Kenya loses a staggering amount of its budget. Some have estimated it to be as high as a third, to corruption every single year. It's a massive parasitic corruption tax that bleeds the nation dry. And we can already see how this systemic weakness threatens the new mineral discovery. Take the law on royalty sharing. Kenya's Mining Act of 2016 is actually quite progressive. It lays out a clear formula. 70% of mining revenue goes to the national government, 20% to the local county, and 10% directly to the community around the mine. It's a great framework on paper. But in reality, it's been a story of failure. Due to what the government has called legal and administrative gaps, the system hasn't been fully implemented. As of mid-2025, billions of shillings in collected royalties had not been distributed to the counties and communities as the law requires. Finally, in July 2024, new regulations were published to fix this, and in July 2025, the government announced that 2.9 billion would finally be released. But you have to ask, if the system has struggled for nearly a decade to distribute the relatively small revenues from existing mines, what on earth will happen when the billions from 970 new sites start to flow in? What hope is there that the money from rare earth elements, coltan, and gold will reach the people it's supposed to? This is the heart of the danger. The combination of opaque licensing, a culture of secret deals, and a proven history of grand-scale corruption creates a perfect storm. This discovery isn't just an opportunity. It's an almost irresistible temptation for the very networks that have profited from corruption for decades. The prize this time could be tens, or even hundreds, of billions of dollars. It could become Goldenberg on steroids. So, is Kenya doomed to become another tragic statistic? Is this incredible discovery just a setup for the biggest heist in the nation's history? No, not necessarily. The future isn't written yet. There is a path forward, a way for Kenya to harness this wealth for all its people. But it's a narrow path, and walking it will require immense political will, unwavering citizen vigilance, and a radical break from the past. It's built on 4 pillars. The first is radical transparency. Corruption thrives in darkness. The most powerful antidote is to make every step of the mining process open to public scrutiny. This means open contracting. Every license for one of these 970 sites, every contract signed, and every shilling paid in taxes and royalties must be published online where any citizen can see it. No more secret deals that sell off national assets for a fraction of their worth. This also means revealing who really owns the companies getting these licenses. No more anonymous shell companies that act as fronts for politicians. The second pillar is fixing the broken pipes. It's a positive step that regulations are finally in place to release long-delayed royalties. But this system must be automatic and foolproof going forward. The 20% for counties and 10% for communities must flow without fail. Beyond that, Kenya should establish a professionally managed and fully transparent sovereign wealth fund like Norway's. A portion of mineral revenues would go into this fund, constitutionally protected from politicians, to be invested for future generations. This insulates the national inheritance from the greed of any single government. The third, and maybe most crucial, pillar is value addition. The biggest mistake a resource-rich nation can make is to fall into the rip and ship trap, letting foreign companies dig up raw materials, pay a small royalty, and ship them overseas for all the high-value processing. That model creates few jobs and transfers almost no skills. It's a raw deal. Kenya must insist that value addition happens inside Kenya. Build the refineries, the processing plants, the smelters. That's how you create thousands of skilled jobs and capture the lion's share of the value, not just the crumbs. This has to be paired with strong local content laws that require mining companies to hire Kenyans and use Kenyan businesses. The fourth and final pillar is the role of the people and the world. Governments and corporations don't reform themselves. They reform when they are under pressure. The most powerful force for accountability will be the Kenyan people. A vigilant media that exposes corrupt deals, a fearless civil society that tracks the money, and an engaged citizenry that refuses to let their national birthright be stolen. The international community also has a role. Pressure from bodies like the FATF, with its grey listing, can push for reform. And consumers in the West have power. by demanding ethically sourced, transparently mined minerals in our phones and cars. We create market pressure for companies to clean up their acts. None of this is easy. It requires a fight on every front, but it is the only way. So we stand at a crossroads, a genuine turning point in the story of a nation. Down one path lies a future powered by Kenya's own resources, a future of economic sovereignty, industrial might, and shared prosperity. It's a future where the wealth beneath the ground builds a stronger nation above it. Down the other path is a well-trodden, tragic road paved with corruption and conflict. It's the path of the resource curse, a road that leads to a handful of billionaires and a nation of broken dreams, where a buried treasure becomes a national tragedy. The discovery of these 970 mineral sites hasn't guaranteed a future. It has revealed the battlefield on which that future will be fought. The rocks and metals have been there for millions of years, but the opportunity they represent is fleeting. It will be defined by the choices made in the next few years. In the corridors of power in Nairobi, in the boardrooms of mining companies, and in the hearts and minds of the Kenyan people. This isn't just a Kenyan story, it's a global one. It's about how we, as a planet, will get the materials that build our modern world. It's about whether that process will empower or exploit the nations where those resources are found. If you believe this story needs to be heard, and that awareness is the first step toward accountability, please share this. What do you think will happen? Can Kenya's institutions withstand this test? Can the people hold their leaders accountable? Let me know your thoughts, hopes, and fears in the comments below. This discussion is crucial. And if you want to keep following deep dives into resources, geopolitics, and the future of Africa, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Kenya has been shown a treasure map. The question that remains is, who will get to the treasure first? The people or the pirates?